Hello, welcome to my shop. My name's Bob Miller, Robert L. Miller if you're looking for my YouTube channel. I've gotten frustrated with trying to make repairs to my ShopSmiths. Yes, that's plural. I currently have 3. At one point I had a 4th. I have found that there's only one person available to make repairs to my ShopSmiths, and that's me. ShopSmiths wants $100 an hour plus parts for repairs. And of course there's shipping for heavy items to get them there and to get them back. It's just not feasible. There are no knowledgeable repairmen in the area that I can find. When it comes to making the repairs, I don't really have the knowledge to do so. I don't really consider myself mechanically inclined, but when there's nobody else to do it, you just give it a whirl. I watch some YouTube videos, but most of them are on simple maintenance. If I'm going to take it apart, then I got to get it back together. It'd be good to have some documentation about what I'd done. I decided maybe a video would help. And then I decided maybe a video would help you too. This is the first video in what I plan to be a series. I'm not going to do any repairs today. I'm just going to show you around my shop and some of the things that need repair. Let's start with the fact I actually have 2 shops. I have one here in Florida and another in a rental cabin we own in North Georgia. Here in Florida, I have 2 ShopSmiths. I will tell you that I love my ShopSmiths. I just don't like them as a table saw. I like to raise and lower the blade on a table saw, not the table. I like to tilt the blade on a table saw, not the table. Finally, I like a bigger table, and I like a runoff table, which you cannot have when you are constantly raising, tilting, and lowering your table. So you will not find me using my ShopSmiths as a table saw. My original ShopSmith was purchased on eBay about the year 2000. It was a Model 500, which I upgraded to a 520. I think I paid $250 for it with some accessories. I usually leave this machine set up with a disc sander on one end and a jointer on the other. Right now I have a belt sander where the jointer goes because I'm about to work on it. When I need a drill press or a horizontal drill, this is the one I convert to that function. It came with a bandsaw that used to stay in the place of the jointer. More on that later. Across the way is ShopSmith number 4. It is currently functioning as a lathe and has a belt sander on the other end. The belt sander came with ShopSmith number 1. ShopSmith number 4 is a 510 that was converted to a 520 by the previous owner. I know this because the 510 fence and the 510 rails came with it. This one also came with a bandsaw, a belt sander, a scroll saw, 2 stands, and a tool rack. I gave $500 for it in April of 2022. That is a universal lathe tool rest that came with ShopSmith number 1. It also came with several specialty tool rests. I looked it up on ShopSmith's website and it sells for $249 on sale today. That's as much as I paid for the whole ShopSmith. I liked this tool rest once I got it set up to keep the handles out of the way. I like it because it's heavy and it keeps the ShopSmith from bouncing around when using it as a lathe. This is the accessory tool shelf that came with number 4. I haven't taken it off yet and the jury's still out, but because I use number 4 predominantly as a lathe, I think it'll just collect a lot of the shavings and not be very useful. ShopSmith number 2 is in Georgia. We're not going to cover that today. I no longer have ShopSmith number 3. It was given to me by my son-in-law, who inherited it from his uncle. Unfortunately, it sat outside in a carport area for a considerable period of time. It ran, but the speed control was stuck. I was able to unstick it for a while, but not for long. The tubes were rusty, but I managed to get the top ones so the motor and the table would slide easily. The bottom tubes simply would not clean up. When I found number 4, I gave up on number 3, and I gave it to my neighbor. Here are the bandsaws that came with number 1 and number 4. Number 4's table is in between them. Beside them is the scroll saw that came with number 4. All of these need a little TLC. Hopefully they will be the subjects of future videos. Over here is a joiner that came with number 3 and needs refurbishing desperately. The joiner that is currently in use and usually stationary on number 1 is next to it. Hanging on this wall are all of the extension tables that came with the various machines. That is my attempt to make a runoff table for when I was still trying to use number 1 as a saw. That did not work out very well. That's about all the ShopSmith things in my shop, but let me show you the rest of it. A Dewalt Table Saw is the workhorse of the place. It is one of the few pieces of equipment I have purchased new. A workbench that I picked up at an estate sale is the runoff table for the table saw. Over here, I have an old Sears radial arm saw I picked up at an estate sale also. Sometimes I have to open those doors to extend my work out the door. In case you're wondering, those are the gates hanging from them to keep the shop dog in when the doors are open. This is the shop dog, Winston. Against this wall is a shop vac with a cyclone. It's on wheels. I learned how to make that on YouTube. Where else? Next to it is a router table. I have a handheld router as well, but the table model gets used the most. On the end is a miter saw. I sometimes have to open the door to use it as well. No need for gates because those doors open into the fenced-in area that the shop dog has the run of anyway. I often wished I had a sliding miter saw. Some pieces are too wide for one cut, and some pieces are too thick for the radial arm saw. I get around the problem by flipping the board over, but if I had it to do over again, I would get a slider. This is a table I made from my Model 500 table after upgrading to a 520. It adjusts up and down and is very handy. I use it when needed to support the longer lumber sticking out the doors when using the miter saw or the radial arm saw. This is my Jet 12-inch bandsaw. I love my ShopSmith bandsaw, but wanted to do some resawing. The standalone 12-inch bandsaw allows me to do that. The ShopSmith bandsaw was just too small. I hate changing blades though. I'm going to pull the ShopSmith bandsaw out again and put a 1/4-inch blade on it for small work and keep a 1/2-inch resaw blade on the Jet. This is my 12-inch Dewalt planer, a piece of equipment that I really love. It uses the work table as an outfeed table as well. If you're still watching, thanks for taking a tour of my shop. I plan on tackling that belt sander soon because I want to take it to Georgia with me. Maybe we can get it pulled apart, fixed, and back together. See you soon.